guys, we are back. This is the Dana White Contender Series preview on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network and also on the Sherdog Radio Network. I am your host. I am Keith Shillan. We are back in business previewing Week 5. I'm back home in Rhode Island, no longer on vacation in Ocean City, Maryland, but maybe I should go back because I had a fantastic week. I went 5 for 5 on my picks. Hopefully we get that train continue to roll this week as we have 5 more contests to pick with fighters fighting to get, attempt to get a UFC contract. Let's get right into it. The first fight of the evening. Now, guys, my order might be a little wrong. The UFC put out one order. Different websites have other orders. I think I have it correctly, but if I don't, I apologize. According to my order, the first one up is Tucker Lutz versus Chase Gibson. Let's get to Tucker Lutz first. Lutz is 26-0. He's 9-1 as a professional. He was 8-0 as an amateur. He has 8 wins by stoppage. He lost his professional debut and actually hasn't lost since. He's the current Shogun Fights lightweight champion. He's an aggressive pressure fighter. He's pretty raw. Has a lot of polish that needs to be placed, needs to get a lot more technical, but he has decent power, though he loads up on everything he throws, which could be a concern the higher level he gets up. He's flat-footed. He pulls his head straight back to avoid shots, tends to square up a lot when he's striking. He isn't very technical. He just kind of marches forward while throwing shots. Because that's what he wants to close his distance, taking to the ground is where he's best. He's very physically strong. He's got a nice reactionary double. He's very relentless at getting that. He stays on his opponent. He sticks to him like glue. I mean, he is the textbook definition of a grinder. He tends to also not advance on his position on the ground. Like, he's willing just to sit in the closed guard and fire off shots, similar to the old days of the dominant wrestlers early in MMA, like Mark Coleman or Mark Kerr. They would just sit in your guard. That's kind of what he does. Though he has fallen. There was one fight that kind of just disturbed me. Is he had his opponent's back and he just fell off his back, which was a little concerning that he didn't have that kind of control. He also struggled when he was put on his back. Moving over to Gibson. Gibson's 30 years old. Doing some research on him. He likes to post a lot of diet advice videos on Facebook. I don't know, he's like a dietitian or something. He's got a 9-4 record. It's a very padded record. Of his 9 professional wins, only 1 win comes over a fighter with a winning record. He's a Combate Americas veteran. He's moving up to light heavyweight from featherweight for this fight. He's a very just average fighter in every position. He's not bad anywhere, but he doesn't really excel anywhere. He doesn't really stand out to you. He uses a lot of movement, uses jabs pretty well, works off a jab, nice straight right hand, uses a lot of inside kicks. But he makes a mistake that he can kind of be drawn into a brawl, and he doesn't really have the ferocity or the power to really win the battles in the brawl. Decent double leg. If he doesn't get it, he's willing just to grind against the fence, working there. Looks for the leg trips. Will get his opponent's back if it's available, but he's not a big submission artist. He's got a weak takedown defense. He makes it even worse because he's willing to jump on a guillotine instead of sprawling out. And he's weak on the bottom. That's definitely area where Lutz should have the big advantage. So as for a prediction, like I just said, Gibson's just a guy to me. He doesn't look UFC level. Lutz is very raw. He needs time to grow. He has a lot of areas in his game he needs to grow, especially in the stand-up. That says he does look like he's improving, and I can't say the same for Gibson. I like Lutz. I think he's too big. I think he's too strong. I think he'll bully him in the clinch, get a few takedowns, ride him out on the ground. I don't think he'll be able to put him away, so I'll say he wins by unanimous decision. Based on that, I don't think he gets a UFC contract, though I'm very confident he wins. This is my lock of the evening. I'm going to lock it in right now. Of the 5 fights, it's the one I'm most confident. Moving on, William Knight Cody Brundage, William Knight is a guy who fights right in my region right here. He's a guy that you've seen him on the Ultimate Fighter, on the Contender Series in the past. He got a developmental deal in the past. He's a former heavyweight, though he's only like 5'10". But when you see him like walking around a casino for a fight, like this guy's an athletic specimen. He's got muscles on top of muscles, and he kind of can struggle to focus. Like I was at a fight when he took on Jorgen De Castro as an amateur, and in between rounds, he was doing backflips and breakdancing instead of like sitting down in the stool and listening to his coaches. And that fight became a closer fight than it should have been. I mean, Jorgen De Castro's in the UFC, so I mean, it's a good win that he beat him. But Jorgen De Castro has greatly improved since then. They had a lot of power. Like I said, he has muscle on top of muscle. That said, his hands are slow, and it's probably because of how much muscle he carries. He does throw some like thudding leg kicks, thunderous leg kicks, but he often throws them naked. On the Contender Series, he was blasted by a right hand when he just threw the leg kick without setting up. Defensively, in the striking area, he leaves a lot to be desired. He lacks head movement or just pulls his head straight back. Because of his short size, it really gets picked apart from distance. And when he can't get inside, he'll back away from his opponent and kind of get stuck in the clinch. His solution to that is to either like back up and try to take breaks, or he just bull rushes forward to get to the clinch, where he really wants to be. He's a good wrestler, but he's not a spectacular wrestler. He's not this NCAA champion like that. And one thing I don't like about him is he tries a lateral drop, which it looks really good and works is really nice because you get to side control. But the problem is if you don't get it, you fall on bottom and the guy lands on top of you. If Knight is on top of you, he's like the Incredible Hulk. He like just Hulk smashes with his gigantic hands. Though he does have a few submissions on his amateur record. But ultimately, that clinch game that he wants to get to, I actually think, while that is the area he wants to fight in, I think it actually is his downfall because cardio is a big issue, and he gasses out in almost every fight. And any fight that goes deeper in the contest, and that's because of how much clinch fighting he's doing. That said, Knight has a lot of heart. He doesn't give up. I mean, in the Contender Series, he lost the first 2 rounds pretty convincingly. Looked like he was on his way to losing a fight, and with about 20 to 25, maybe 30 seconds left, he came back based on he had more left in the gas tank than his opponent did, which is really surprising because considering that's an issue. I'm spending way too much time on blame. Let me move on to Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage is probably best known as he is the husband of Amanda Bobby Cooper, now Amanda Bobby Brundage, who previously fought in the UFC. This guy's a former middleweight, which might be an issue considering he recently moved up to light heavyweight, while Knight is a former heavyweight, so there is a size difference, probably just in muscle, not in length and height. I should have looked it up. Brundage used to train at the Scorpion MMA, but recently moved to Colorado, where he has joined Factory X, which is probably a good move. He's a power hitter. He loads up in every punch, which can clearly gas him, but he controls that a little bit because he throws one strike at a time. And I'm not saying that as a compliment because I definitely want to see guys throwing combinations. Nothing he does that I don't like. He throws a lead uppercut similar to the Chuck Liddell, Rashad Evans, where he just threw an uppercut and got blasted with an overhand right. So that will be an issue if he doesn't correct it. He's got good leg kicks. Actually, really good kicks anywhere. He's pretty fast high kick. He landed a nice question mark kick in his last fight. He's a former NCAA wrestler, so he should have the advantage in that category, though he is giving up some strength to William Knight. When he gets to take down Brundage, he's got really good top control, and he's very hard to take down himself. As for prediction, I'm not very high on either guy. So this pick is squarely going to be based off William Knight, who I've seen a lot more of. He just isn't very good, and he doesn't look to be improving. I mean, he's scary looking. He's like, this big muscle on top of muscle. I mean, he looks like a superhero. But that says he's a superhero for 3 minutes or so, and then he completely gasses out. I expect a lot of clinch fighting from him, and then Knight eventually gassing himself out. Maybe Knight goes for a takedown, misses it, Brundage gets on top and pounds him out. So I'll take Brundage. I'll say I was going to go first round, but I'm probably going to go second round now. So I'm going to say second round TKO from Ground and Brown. And if you get a stoppage, I think he's going to get him a UFC contract. So I'm going to say Brundage gets a UFC contract. And as of right now, that is very close. That's close to picking up. But technically, Brundage is a very slight underdog at the time I'm recording this. That might change by tomorrow night when they actually fight. But right now, Brundage is my first upset of the night. Moving on, we have a really exciting matchup. Jose Johnson versus Ronnie Lawrence. Johnson has like an insane amount of experience. He, as a professional, he has 11-5 record, which is already a lot of fights heading into the Contender Series, having 16 fights. But he has nearly 40 amateur fights. And it's a funny thing that for him to be in the situation he is right now, like he didn't start his career off well as an amateur. Like he lost a whole bunch of fights early, kind of looked like a can. Really turn things down. But the thing that's really impressive is he's only 25. He like all that experience. He's only 25 years old. He's currently on a 5-fight winning streak. He has 3 viral videos in his career. One was a knockout of an opponent. Not a knockout. He hit his opponent and knocked his opponent's fake eye out, which I don't know how a guy is fighting in a MMA fight with a fake eye in. Another one hit this beautifully timed flying knee. But the one that even more than the fake eye one, the one that probably got the most views is his last fight. He landed he was defending a takedown similar to, they call it Travis Brown downward elbow to the side of the head. And he landed one of the nastiest elbows I've ever seen in my life, completely knocking out his opponent. So the opponent was shaking. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. He's a long and lengthy fighter. He's extremely aggressive to the point where it is like too wild. He fights like he's shot out of a cannon. Very athletic, very fast, like splashy spinning attacks, flying attacks. He's constantly moving forward, but he hates when his opponent can back him up with more physicality or their own pressure. He hangs his hands low. Based on that, he's very hittable. He's a decent wrestler, and he's extremely strong. When he gets on his opponent's hips, he'll lift him up in the air and slam him. And if he's on the ground, he is a submission threat because he's very flexible. Not much of a top game, though. Like, you watch him work on top, he constantly gets rolled over or swept. It just simply falls off the position. And I think that's due to he's even very aggressive on the ground. And his takedown defense is very questionable. Now, moving on to Ronnie Lawrence. Ronnie Lawrence is 28 years old. He's got a 5-1 record. This guy's a very composed striker. He could fight from both stances, though I would say his orthodox is probably his best position. He uses feints well. From the orthodox stance, he has a pretty stinging jab, a nice right cross, throws a lot of kicks. He also likes the spinning attacks. What I really like about Lawrence is that he'll attack the body. He's got some pretty good power. And also, out of everything I watched that really stands out to me is when he has his opponents hurt or when he smells blood, he turns up the pressure. Like, he can really dial it up even better. And I really like that. Not the best takedown defense, but I'm impressed by how quickly he gets back up and he continually works. He doesn't just play down on the ground. He's looking to work. Not much of a submission threat as a professional, though he's got a couple submissions as an amateur. Prediction, this is my favorite fight. Johnson doesn't know how to be in a boring fight. I mean, he fights crazy. And that could actually be the downfall, though. He leaves so many opens due to his like berserker style. And that is dangerous against someone that is as technically sound of a striker as Lawrence. I think Johnson comes out too aggressive, and I think Lawrence starches him. And I'm going to say he doesn't late in the first round. So I say he starches him. I say gets a first round knockout. I think that gives him a contract. If you're keeping track at home, this is my second upset in a row I'm picking. And this is a big upset. Right now, let me see. I'm sorry for this. I'm looking this up real quick. But right now, Lawrence is like a plus 210 underdog. So I shouldn't say it's not huge, but he's a sizable underdog. I think he takes this. So this is my upset special, and it's 2 fights in a row. I'm taking the underdog. Moving on. This is now the 4th fight. Even we have Jimmy Flick versus Nate Smith. Jimmy Flick, 29 years old, 14-5, current LFA flyweight champion. He's faced some really tough competition. Some of his wins, all of his losses go against good guys, but some of his wins have come over guys like Johnny Bedford, C.J. Hamilton, Greg Fisher in his last fight. That fight against Fisher just over months ago. Like, those are good fighters. Those are good guys to beat. Flick's very unathletic, but also unorthodox. His hands are almost non-existent, or at least like not threatening. He just kind of covers up instead of moving his head. He throws a lot of kicks and does well to check kicks. But all his striking is a setup wrestling. He's a good wrestler. He can grind against the fence, decent entries, though he often shoots from far away. Sorry, I had a technical difficulty for a second. He shoots from really far away sometimes. If he does get the fight to the ground, this is where he really excels. He's a really good submission threat. He can get submissions and scrambles. He can get submissions off his back. I mean, really can get submissions everywhere. One of his go-to is the Von Flue choke. He shows. I don't like him on, like, he's a submission threat off his back, but I don't like that he often plays just off his back and doesn't really show urgency to get up. Anybody who listens to me break down fights knows that's something that I do not like. I don't know if it's the natural wrestler in me, but I don't like people sticking around on the back. Nate Smith, his opponent, 25 years old. He's 6-0. Typology. He says he has like 30 amateur fights, though Typology doesn't have that many. Trains out at Elevation Fight Team. This guy's raw, but talented. Not very technical. Kind of flat-footed. When he throws, he admires his punches a little too much. He sits on his punches, but he's not really a big hitter. Good dirty boxer, good clinch striker. He is a great wrestler. He's a junior Olympian in Greco-Roman wrestling. Incredible hip control, nice trips. If he gets on top, good ground and pound, good back takes. He is a submission threat. He has 3 wins by rear naked choke. But surprisingly, he's been for a guy who's so decorated wrestler, he's been taken down by lesser competition. He's had his back taken, struggled to get off his bottom, and honestly, he's undersized. This guy used to fight at 115, so he'll be giving up some size. So as a prediction, this is a tough one. This is probably the toughest one. Smith has the much higher potential and probably the better prospect. However, I'm going to take Flick. Flick is one-dimensional, and Smith will be hard to take down, or at least he should be based on his wrestling. However, Flick has faced the better competition. I expect Smith to be dumb enough to take Flick down, and then when he does, I think he's going to get subbed. I think Flick catches him in the first round and wins a UFC contract. Flick's a guy that, Hardcore has known his name for a long time, and I think he'll finally make it to the UFC. Moving on, main event. Oh, by the way, that's another upset. That's 3 upset picks in a row that I've picked. Moving on, main event. Bear with me. I'm going to try my best to get these names right. But main event, we have Melsik Baghdasaryan versus Denis Buzukja. I wrote them out phonetically, see if I get it right. Melsik Baghdasaryan versus Denis Buzukja. Melsik is the guy that there is almost no MMA film on this guy, and that's because he never had an amateur career, and he only has 5 fights. He is 4-1. I was unable to find his loss, but I found all of his wins, and the reason why I can't have too firm of grasp on him is his wins took him 7, 9, 14, and 32 seconds. That's right. 7, 9, 14, and 32 seconds. The 20-year-old Armenian. He has both professional kickboxing and boxing experience. He's fought a very high level of kickboxing, fought in K1. He's the reigning WLF World Kickboxing Champion. He trains at Glendale Fight Club with Edmund Taverdi in there. He has faced some really low-level competition, and I had to look into, his professional kickboxing to get, a firm grasp on his striking, but he's very fast hands. He's extremely accurate, hits very hard. His left hand is absolutely deadly. Incredible high kick. Cardio is obviously a question mark considering his longest win is 32 seconds. And so is his ground game. As I said earlier, I'm assuming he was taken down and that's how he lost, but I was unable to find his loss. Moving on to Buzukja. He's a Cerro Longo fighter. He has a 4-1 record. He was 5-1 as an amateur, better known as Buzukja, Dennis Buzukja. Most known when he was arrested when he was 18, when he set up someone to meet someone online, hidden in bushes. When that person rolled up, he jumped out, attacked the person, robbed him, stole his wallet. That's not a good story, but that was when he was 18, so we'll move on from there. Just wondering if you heard that story, now you know you could add a name or a face to it. The guy's a counter striker, really nice slip and rip right hand, does well to draw out his attacks with feints, nice check left hook, throws combos, has nice KO power, likes his spinning attacks, has a spinning back elbow knockout that is absolutely beautiful. Some negatives though, he drops his hands a lot, or either he drops his hands or he keeps his hands away from his chin a lot, like kind of out away from his body. He hasn't shown much in the offensive wrestling department, though he has shown some pretty good takedown defense. When he has been taken down, he works quickly back up to his feet. Though he did have his back taking by a pretty low-level amateur. Down for the prediction. Considering he trains with Matt Serra, you would think Buzukja would have a good ground game, especially considering he's been training with that team since he was a kid. That said, he hasn't shown it. I should pick him based simply because it's likely he'll get a takedown and get a submission. However, Melsik is on a whole different level when it comes to the striking. I'm simply going to go off from what I've seen. If Buzukja, whatever, stands with him, he will get knocked out. I think he will. I think he'll be stubborn, and I think Melsik is going to absolutely starch him. So give me Melsik by first round knockout. I say that also gets him a UFC contract. So guys, I went 5-0 last week. Probably not as likely as I have taken 4 out of the 5 matchups I have picked the underdog. Let me just recap real quick. I have Lutz over Gibson by unanimous decision. This is the only favorite I picked. It's also my lock of the evening. I picked Brundage over Knight by second round TKO. I took Lawrence over Johnson by first round TKO. I took Flick over Smith by first round sub. And I put Melsik over Buzukja by first round KO. I have Brundage, Lawrence, Flick, and Melsik all getting UFC contracts. There you have it, guys. That is my UFC Dana White Contender Series breakdown. Message me on Twitter, Keith Shillan MMA. It's at Keith Shillan MMA. I'll spell it for you. At KeithShillan MMA. Hit me up on Twitter. Tell me who you're picking. And I'll be back next week, guys.